Rules for Radicals. Rules for Radicals. Written by this man called Saul Alinsky. Saul Alinsky. Um, he's probably one of the most famous or most famous uh, and I think practical activists in the U.S. And I think it is a kind of book that you have to read to know what this book says. Yeah. Now, if you look at the Wikipedia, yeah, if you look at the Wikipedia, it says like the it talks about like in the Wikipedia, okay, in the Wikipedia, it talks about the 13 rules of of this book or whatever. I think I know what this Wikipedia thing is talking about. There are like 13 rules that are written in about page 130 or something. Yeah, it only takes a few pages to talk about these 13 rules, which are important. Yeah, but these 13 rules that are talked about in Wikipedia, um, mm, again, like they are probably important, but um, they are not very. I wouldn't say they are not practical. They are practical, yes, but if you do actually want to conduct these 13 rules, and then actually it takes a lot of experience and it takes a lot of teamwork. It's not something that you can do by yourself, or um, it- it's not something that you can do without much experience. Yeah, and if you want to know what Mr. Alinsky wants you to do, and then you actually have to read the book. Yeah, and yeah, very easy to get this book here. And stuff. Yeah. Now the rule number one: the power is not only what you have, but the enemy thinks you have. Yeah. So, what um what you make your enemy think what it is more important than what it really is. Yeah. If you want to make an impression that you are bigger than what you really are, and then that's what really counts, and the enemy is going to be afraid of you and stuff. I think that's what basically he's trying to say here. That's number one. And number two, that never go outside the experience expert no never go outside the expertise of your people. Yeah, which means that, like, your people, for example, if you're the leader, or in this book it says organizer, because this book says that there's that uh, uh, there's there are differences between being the leader and being the organizer and stuff, so whatever. But let's forget all the terms and stuff. But the how do you call it, if you're the leader of a group and you don't want to go outside the you don't want to outside of what your people can do, yeah, and stuff. Yeah. The rule number three: whenever possible, go outside the expertise of the enemy. Yeah, which means that um, do something that your enemy is not expecting you to do. Yeah. Um, um, I don't know. Like, if your enemy is not if your enemy is expecting you to to be quiet, or to be gentle, and then don't be gentle or whatever. I think that's what it says. The rule number four: make the enemy live up to its own book of rules. Yeah, this is very important. Yeah. make your enemy, how do you call it, like uh, uh, abide abide by the rules, by the laws and stuff. Yeah, yeah. So you actually have to limit the you want to limit the actions of your enemy and stuff. That's what it says here, I think. And rule number five, that make the enemy no rule number five, ridicule is man's most potent weapon. Yeah, means you have to make fun of your enemies. Yeah. Rule number six, a good tactic is one of your good tactic is one your people enjoy. Yeah, that means that you have to have a good time, doing your activity with your guys. Yeah. um, if your guys don't enjoy the thing that you're doing, the thing that the thing that you want them to do, and then they cannot continue, they it doesn't last. That's what he says, I think. And rule number seven, I think, a tactic that drags on too long becomes a drag. Yeah. That means that you don't use the same tactic over and over. It's gonna be a drag. Yeah, people get bored, I think. And the rule number nine, nine maybe, keep the pressure on. Yeah, keep the pressure on your enemy. And rule number, uh, wait a minute. The rule number that nine. This is the ninth one. The rule number nine. That's wait a minute. I'm not sure. I don't know if it's nine or eight or um. Anyway, next one. The keep the threat. The threat is usually more terrifying than the thing itself. I think this has been talked about before at the beginning. Yeah, if you threaten to kill your enemy or something, and then you actually don't, you know, kill them, right? But the word itself is scarier than what you said you would do to them or whatever. That's what that means, I think. Yeah. Let's move on to the next one. Um, the major. Just a second. Konoma-san, good morning. Hello. It's five in the morning. Yes. In Japan, yeah, yeah. The next one, the major uh pre um the major premise of tactics is the development of operations that will maintain constant pressure upon the opposition. I don't know the much. I actually have to read that to understand this one correctly, but yeah, I think it's almost same as the one that I talked about before. Keep the pressure on. Yeah, keep the pressure on your enemy. Mhm. Not just the enemy, I guess. You gotta keep the pressure on, like for example, the establishment. For example, like for example, um, this can apply to a lot of things. Yeah, if your local government is doing something bad, and you actually acted and you changed it, yeah, and the government stopped doing the wrong thing, maybe for now. So you have to keep watching them because they can make mistakes and stuff. Yeah, I think that's what he says. Yeah, the rule number uh 11: if you push a negative hard and deep enough, it will break through into its counter side. Yeah. So you gotta push harder. You gotta push. You gotta keep pushing hard. Yeah, basically that's what he says. I actually have to read there, but I'm not gonna read that right now. Yeah. Next one. The rule number 12: the price of a successful attack is a constructive alternative. Yeah. Um, uh, yeah, this again, like all these rules that I've been talking about, these are very conceptual, and actually, if you want to really act on these things, or if you want to be able to do these things, and it actually takes experience. It actually takes a lot of experience and teamwork. So, again, this the rule number 12. I don't quite understand, but I mean, I understand what the word says, the phrase says, but I don't really. Um, anyway, I can't really talk about it. Next one, pick the target. The very last one here. The pick the target, freeze it, personalize it, and polarize it. Yeah. So means that, for example, like there's a crowd of your there's a crowd of your enemy people. Yeah, and you choose, for example, like you choose one person and you tell him or her, lots of things, and um, um for yeah, and if you try to attack the whole crowd of people, and it's hard, but if you choose one person and it's easier to attack that person, yeah, and that the person won't doesn't want to be there anymore and stuff. Yeah, that's that's the one that I can think of right now. Yeah. Anyway, um um you know all these things are very conceptual and all the stuff, and I don't know why Wikipedia chose these 13 things as the rules of uh the rules that this book talks about, because I don't think it's not I don't think it is. All these things are very conceptual, and again, this is a book that you actually have to read, not just to look at the Wikipedia, because it's far from good enough. um and it's very easy to read. Again, I am Japanese, and even me as a me, a Japanese person, can read this book, so it's very easy to read. It must be very easy. I finished reading this book, and but the I guess that the reading well is quite different from, like, just reading through the book. And now there were things which made a very big impression on me. And for example, like, um, again, as the description says, yeah. The third one, laughter, 138. Um, it says here that now this is the one that actually this one that actually I'm using. I use very often when I do do when we do our activities and stuff, and this works pretty well. Yeah. Um, and it says here that it should be remembered that you can threaten the enemy and get away with it. You can insult and annoy him, but the one thing that is unforgivable and that is certain to get him react to laugh at him. It causes an irrational anger. Actually, and there are some examples and stuff where um, I guess he and his guys were fighting against this big company called Kodak. It's a camera company, I think. Um, yeah, he was working with this labor union and stuff and whatever. And but this short phrase, is very, very, you know, I think is important. Chami-san, good morning. Hello. Yeah, good morning in Japan, actually. Um, so, um, this is the one that I'm actually using, and I just um, this works very well. Actually, this is connected to the one of the things that I talked about in the 13 rules. Ridicule is man's most potent weapon. Yeah. Now, I actually do use that very often, and um, every time I talk to our, for example, like when we do our street corner speeches, and um, when I was in Japan first party, um, almost every time we had the speech and stuff, and our enemy guys came, and they are yelling and stuff, whatever, and I I actually choose um I actually choose some of the people, man. Sometimes man, sometimes women, man or women, doesn't matter. And I choose the person. I laugh at um, how they are dressed, how they talked, their I ridicule their appearances and stuff, and it worked pretty well. And I was laughing when I was talking about it, and they get very very upset, and it's not a good thing. I mean, you don't do that if you're a grown up person and you don't do something like that, right? Yeah, you're being very rude actually, but you have to do this if you are doing your political activities. You're facing your enemy, and that you don't want your enemy to come to your rally, right? Yeah, and you want them to you know and you don't want them to talk, you don't want them to do stuff to you. Yeah, you have to beat your enemy. Yeah, and when I say these things, especially to women, yeah, those women usually stopped coming because they don't want to be insulted. Especially about their appearance and stuff. Yeah, yeah, and there are some women who came, and men too. Yeah. Um, I don't even know if I should be talking about this one here, but for example, like when I'm talking, there's one guy who was there, and I guess he had some how do you call this, speech impediment or something, like he couldn't talk very well, but he still came and tried to disturb our rally, disturb our speeches. So I made fun of how he talked, and he was very upset, and he was like screaming and shit, like, "Ah!" He was going, but he couldn't speak very well. So I made fun of the way that he was talking and stuff. In in a normal life, in our ordinary life, that is not something that we should do as grown-up people. Yeah, we should respect the way that people are, right? But when we are fighting against our enemies, that's something that you should do. You have to do it because you don't want them to come. Yeah, and you have to make them feel bad. You have to embarrass them in front of other people. And on top of it, I laugh when I do this. Yeah. So um this one so again the the laughter um part is something that I often use. Yeah. And uh, this is very easy to do, and it doesn't take much of experience actually, and it doesn't take any teamwork. Yeah, not like the other things that are written in the 13 rules. And what I have been, all these things here. Yeah, but again, I read this book like maybe a year or 2 years ago. I thought I saw everything, but I didn't, because this time, to prepare for this live show here, I was reading this book again, and I found things I that I have never seen. I didn't know this part actually existed, and it made me feel that it is not easy to be a leader of some kind of group. Yeah, which is that? Let me see. Page 100. Being dangerous. Being dangerous. Um, Now it says here, the job of the organizer is to maneuver and bait the establishment so that it will publicly attack him as a dangerous enemy. The word enemy is sufficient to put the organizer on the side of the people. Yeah. And it goes and whatever. And it says, this need is met by the establishment's use of the brand dangerous. For in that one word, establishment reveals its fear of the organizer. Yeah. Um, Now the organizer has his birth certificate and can begin. Do you know what it means here? This means that be if you want to be the leader of some kind of group, you have to be dangerous to to your enemy. Yeah, which means that before you become before you become the leader, then you have to be dangerous already. Yeah, this is not something that you can actually, you know, how do you call it? If you want to be a leader, of course. I mean, if you don't want to be a leader, and I guess you don't have to be that dangerous. But for example, like if you want to found the group, if you want to found a group, and then you have to be a kind of person that that the enemy is afraid of, which is not very easy. Yeah, because I've been doing these activities for a couple years already, and almost 20 years. And the establishment doesn't consider me dangerous. I'm still a very safe person, so I don't think I should start a group or something. Not yet, anyway. That's what I realized when I was reading this. This part is this part is very important because there are many groups in Japan and probably in your countries too. But um, lots of the groups stay very small, and they how do you call it? And oftentimes, like and oftentimes those groups disband within a few years because maybe because the leader doesn't have enough power to lead his or her group, um, because the person is not dangerous enough to the enemy. Yeah, and yeah, whatever. That's one. I guess that's one condition. That's one of the conditions that you have to fulfill before you become the before you become a leader. Actually, yeah. And there's another condition here, which is written on the next page. One's credentials of competency is only part of the organizer's first job. He needs other credentials to begin. Credentials that enable him to meet the question, who asked you to come in here? Who asked you to come in here? With the answer, you did. He must be invited by a significant sector of the local population, their churches, street organizations, social clubs, and other groups. So basically, it says here that if you want to be if you want to be the leader of a particular group, and then, well, before that, before you become the leader of the group, and then you have to be the kind of person, um, you have to be the kind of person that is invited by other people to speak in front of other people and stuff. Yeah. So, uh, before you become the leader, and you have to be the kind of person that other people want to listen to. I'm guessing like you can find this kind of person like one out of like 1,000 or 10,000 or something. I don't know. Like very few people can be the leaders. Maybe that's why they're called leaders. Anyway, my heart kind of sank a little bit because I don't think I can be a leader. Yeah, because I've been thinking about like yeah I've been thinking about like starting my own group in this town here. But certainly, I'm not a dangerous person to the establishment or to our enemy. Yeah, some people do know me, but there are other people who are more famous and more charismatic and stuff. I know that, but I thought I had to do something in my hometown, not nationwide. Not in my hometown. Maybe I could do something, right? But I guess I have to do more things. I got to do a lot more if I want to if I want to start my own group. Yeah, and I need to be the kind of person who is invited by other people to talk and stuff. Yeah, and I'm not. Yeah, I get invited for their speeches and stuff, but I don't. It's different. Everyone gets invited, so anyway, so that's one thing that I found this time, and this is encouraging. Yeah, I'm not saying that I'm I'm discouraged or anything. I'm actually more encouraged when I was reading this, but yeah, it's the truth. Yeah, and truth hurts sometimes. Yeah. Anyway, so let's and but there are so many other things that you will enjoy reading. For example, um, as it says in the description, that the first one here it says will want more, will want more, which is on the page 107. It says that um, now after you become the leader or something, and then there are things that you have to know. Um, now, it says here that he knows, he knows. Now, I'm going, I'm going to change a few, some of the phrases over here. It says, he must know that what we fight for now, as matters of life and death, will be soon forgotten, and changed situations will change desires and issues. Interesting. Yeah. And I'm going to skip a few phrases over here. And it says, uh, then they were fighting for hamburger. Now they wanted filet mignon. So it goes. And why not? An organizer must know that life is a sea of shifting desires, changing elements of and and yet he must stay within the experience of the people he is working with and act in terms of specific resolutions and answers, etc., etc. Is it? I think you understand what you said. What I just said. Um, for example, like we do a lots of activities in, so do you. Um, but you know, like you and your guys, want to make something come true, and even after you make those things come true, and then um, um, those things will be forgotten, and people want something more. Yeah, like it says here, they were fighting for a hamburger. Now they wanted filet mignon. Yeah, which means that um, they want something very basic. For example, pay raise, or human basic human rights, etc., etc. You want police to do something that they should be doing, but if they really do that, and then you will want something more. Yeah, but the first impression that I got after, when I was reading this, is that actually the um eh, I'm going to change the pronunciation a little bit. The people from, like, countries like Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, I don't know, uh Egypt and stuff, yeah, those uh again, Muslims, yeah, but I'm going to change the pronunciation. uh Moch Mochlim Moch Mochlim. Those Mochlim people, they come to your country and they ask you to give them some basic rights. Yeah, and so you do give them those basic things, and then they want more. They want their own churches, they stuff like that, and they want their citizenships, and they want their um how do you call it, welfare, the handout, more money, um and they want their own um how do you call it, and they will soon want to exclude your people. Yeah, they will want to exclude your people, and um they want more and more. Yeah, and they will end up ruling your place. Yeah, so but that's what everyone wants when those people come to your place. Yeah, but so the Mr. Alinsky is not talking about the immigrants and stuff, right? Yeah, they're talking about the activists and his followers and his crowd and stuff, his crowd of people. Um, it is interesting it is interesting to know that back like 50, this book was written like 60, 50 or 50 or 60 years ago, and this book this book never talks about the immigrants and stuff, but lots of the things are lots of things are applicable to what is going on right now. And this whole thing reminded me of the problem that we have with the immigrants and stuff. Yeah, that's the impression I got. Yeah, so anyway, and how do you call it, the next one, multiple issues. The next one that is written here in the description, it says multiple issues. Page 120 in my book. Now this is something that uh, that made a very big impression on me. Um, and every time I see people, um, even in Japan, like there are some. Okay, I'm going to read this first. Now, organizations must be based on many issues. Organizations need action as an individual needs oxygen. The cessation of action brings death to the organization through factionalism and inaction, etc., etc. And says each person has a hierarchy, hierarchy of desires or values. He may be sympathetic to your single issue, but not concerned enough about that particular one to work and fight for it. Many issues mean many members. Communities are not economic organizations like labor unions with specific economic issues. They are as complex as life itself. Yeah. Um, I found this very, very interesting here. Um, um, People tend to uh, some. I guess it depends on the person, but for example, I'm the kind of person who likes to simplify things. Yeah, and I talk a lot and stuff. Yeah, I talk a lot about many different things, but you know, but usually when I write stuff, and when I do my things, and yeah, I like something very simple, and I like to simplify things. Yeah, and if I didn't know about this one here, and if I start my own group, and then probably our group or my group will have very few issues, very few principles, because I don't like to have many rules. But it says here, what this book says is that organizations must be based on many issues as an individual needs oxygen, which I thought was very interesting. um Now it says here that, like, again, I'm going to it says here each person has a hierarchy of desires and values, and he may be sympathetic to your single issue, but not concerned enough about that particular one to work and fight for it. Which means that, for example, let's say like there are 5 people in my group, and I I let's say just let's say like I want to work on the education reform, for example. But another member is more interested in agriculture. Yeah. Now, um, I'm not very interested in the agricultural problems, say. But since this guy in my group is interested in the agricultural problems in Japan, so I'm going to help him. Yeah, and we're going to work together, even though I'm not that interested. So now he has, and other guys too. So there are 5 people. So instead of having just one person working with this agricultural problem, now he has 4 other guys who are helping him. So we have more people to work on that problem. And of course, my problem with the education reform thing, other guys are not very interested, but because I'm in this group here, and that there are 4 other guys, so 4 other guys can help me work on the problem. So now, instead of, instead of having just one person working on the problem, there are 5 and stuff. That is why that one uh, organization should have many issues so that we can work together and stuff. So it's about teamwork. Yeah. So that's why um, organizations must be based on many issues, which I thought was kind of interesting because there are some single issue party or one issue party um, in, for example, in Japan too. There are some. There's one person. There's one group called NHK Party. There's a TV station called the NHK in Japan, and it is a it is kind of like government, like a TV station type, kind of like in the UK, like BBC or something like that, right? Kind of like a government. Maybe it's not quite government, but kind of uh, public broadcasting company and stuff. But many people don't like the way that they broadcast and stuff. So uh, one of the former employees founded this group and stuff. So it's a single issue party. Yeah. But again, other people are more interest, other people are interested in other things. Yeah. Um, now this time this NHK party is having other guys are who are interested in other issues, for example. Yeah. The name still says NHK party and stuff, but actually they're working on other things too. Yeah. Well, in the UK, um, I know there was a party called the Brexit Party. Brexit Party is, obviously the name says, as the name says, he was working on the Brexit, and basically, well, technically, the uh, the UK left the no, what's the name of the thing? EU, European Union, right? Yeah. Technically, you guys left the EU, so you don't really need the Brexit Party anymore. So Brexit Party changed the name of the party, and I don't know the new name of the party, but they changed it, right? Yeah. So again, the single issue party doesn't last. A single issue party doesn't last. Um, if you want if you want to function for a long time, and you need to have multiple issues. Yeah. So that's the one that that's one of the many things you know that I thought were impressive. Yeah. 我が朝鮮総連の罪と罰. Which means that my Korean organizations uh, crime and punishments. That's what it says. It's written in Japanese, obviously. Yeah. And I would like to talk about this book sometime in the future. What's it about? Right. You mean this book here? Um, this guy is one of the members in this Korean organization in Japan, and they committed lots of crimes, lots of things, lots of legal things and illegal things, which are not profitable to the Japanese people, but only to the Korean people. And I don't like this group at all. This is Korean mafia. It's not. They're like a mafia, yeah. But uh, it is it is supposed to be like kind of like a, how do you call this guy, interest group or lobby group for the Korean people in Japan and stuff. But they go very far. Like again, if you give them an inch, they take a mile. There's a phrase, right? And this guy was one of the top members in the group, but again, this group, like it says that um, the our our Korean organizations, crimes and punishments. So he saw a lots of like ill deeds, wrong things that this group has committed. So he left the group and he wrote a book on this organization here, and everything is written in Japanese. And I would like to talk about it. I can translate a few of the things. Yeah. Anyway, so it's one of well, this one of the few books that made a very big impression and actually influenced um my activities. Yeah. So anyway, you know what, Iris? I saw your article, which kind of I don't want to be rude or anything. Okay, yeah. I don't want to be rude or anything, but this candidate, Kemi Kimi, she's a black woman who was running for this prime minister election or something. Kemi for prime minister or PM or whatever, right? And why you being sarcastic when you're saying that you're disappointed that she left she left the race and stuff? That kind of confused me a little bit, because I don't know the situation in your country very well. Sally, how you doing? I'm listening, but I'm out driving, so I can't write in the chat. Oh, thank you very much for telling me that. Be careful when you drive. At least I know that you are there. You're here. So uh, thank you. Be very careful, actually. Yeah. So um, and you sounded very disappointed that Kemi left the race, and now the country doesn't really have lots of hope and stuff. That's what you are saying. Did you want a black woman to be prime minister of your country? Is that what you're trying to say? Because she is not English, she is not Welsh, she is not. She doesn't look very British, that's for sure. Maybe she was born and raised there, but you know, but anyway, all the candidates were a bad choice, but I think out of the choices, she was the least bad. So you really wanted her to win the election? Did you actually want her? Did you actually want her? Did you actually want her to be the prime minister of the UK? She's not a leftist. Yeah, I'm sure she's not a leftist. That sounded kind of because I wouldn't want. Maybe because I'm Japanese, I don't know, but I wouldn't want other race to be the prime minister of this fucking country. Excuse my language, but seriously, I don't want any like a you know Chinese descent or Korean descent or European descent or any other race to be the leader. I mean, the prime minister of this country, because prime minister is different from like just being one of the Congress members or like House members and stuff. I mean, we do have um there's one woman that I talked about at the beginning of this video here. I want There's one person called ONODA Kimi. Yeah, she's half American and she's half Japanese and stuff. So she looks white. Actually, she looks like a white woman, but She was born and raised in this country here, and she's a real patriot. Like you said, she's not a leftist. Um, she so she looks almost white, European, and I wanted her to be a Congress person, and she was running for this election that we had this month, and she won the election. So I was very very happy. Me and the other guys all very happy. But I don't want her to be a prime minister of this country. Not her. Yeah, yeah. If you want to be prime minister of this country here, the person needs to be 100% Japanese. Yeah, and half American person should not represent this country as a very leader, the top leader of this country here. Yeah, that's what. But it kind of surprised me a little bit. But I guess I did not misunderstand. Yeah, it's your opinion. I'm Japanese, so I don't quite understand. What's going on in the UK and stuff. Yeah, and surprised me a little bit actually. Yeah, it's like, are you serious? Kemi for prime minister and stuff. I mean, how many people are? How many people have raised their hands uh, to be prime minister of the UK? How many candidates are there uh, for this prime minister selection and stuff? Now just two. Oh, is that right? Oh, the Tories are completely captured by woke ideology. Right. Yeah, we always have to choose somebody least bad. We can never have the best choice. Yeah. We always have to choose the least bad. Yeah. They all suck. They all suck, but you have to choose the least bad. That's that's the only choice we have. You don't have to feel so bad because in Japan too, the prime minister that we have right now, the Kishida, Prime Minister Kishida, he was the, I guess he was the least bad. Yeah, there's one woman, female candidate who was called Takaichi Sanae. Yeah, and I thought she was the best choice. Yeah, even though I personally I doubted her strength to carry on her policies and stuff. She has been around for like more than 20 years, 30, almost 30 years, and I have never seen her like achieve something very important. Maybe she did, I don't know, but I had this impression that she is not a strong person because I don't think she has ever achieved anything big, anything important. Yeah, but she was running for this prime minister selection, and I rooted for her, but she did not win. And instead, Kishida, the prime minister that we have right now, was chosen. And I guess for them, he was the least bad. Bacon and Sally. Sally, you're driving. Don't write anything. Don't write anything. Um, if you're driving, don't do that. But Bacon and other people, if you're watching, um, who did you think was the least bad amongst all the candidates for this prime minister selection? There were about nine before, right? Right. Mm. Who did you think was the least bad, or who did you think was the least bad choice you had? Which I think that's kind of important, And the Igris bloke thought, same as your friend. Are you serious, Kemi, the black woman? Holy, serious. Least bad was a Nigerian black. Oh yeah, you wrote it here. The least bad was a Nigerian woman called Kemi. Can't pronounce the name because Bade Badenoch or whatever, I don't know. Kemi Badenoch. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I mean, I'm sure she was born and raised in the U.S. I mean, she was born and raised in the UK, and you know, a member of the Conservative Party. I'm looking up in the Wikipedia for the first time, and yeah, she was born in London, but her parents are from Nigeria, and she was a banker, and I'm sure as a person she's nice, and she was for Brexit, yeah, uh, anti woke, social conservative. Oh, now I know why. Uh, Igirisu bloke, my friend, was rooting for Kemi Badenoch. I am pronouncing it right. That's how bad our country is. Unfortunately, that's how bad the UK is right now. I'm a nationalist, and I thought the person at least likely to hurt us would be a Nigerian woman, right? She was the Minister of State uh, for Local Government, Faith and Communities. Hmm. Interesting name. Minister of State for Local Government, Faith and Communities. Sounds almost really religious. Minister of State for Equalities. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. She was a small minister, nothing important. Oh, is that right? Just a second. I want to talk to